So what we want to do is we want to basically start to think about the project kind of in the context of its site. And so one of the things that I often tell my students to do when I do teach it is try to keep your building orthogonal, even if that means you have to rotate your site and then later rotate it back. We all know that the site north is off by just a little bit. That was done on purpose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my site so that north is pointed straight up rather than at this small angle right here. So here goes. I'm going to select everything to rotate. Zoom in here, set my center point of rotation there, click on that point, and then all I'm going to do is turn my ortho, or make sure that my ortho is turned on, and now north is straight up. To be clear, I took my site and I rotated it that little bit amount, and that makes it to where when I draw a cube or a square, it's actually drawing with the walls north, south, east, west. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to work on creating my 30 by 30 cube on the site. So I'm going to kind of zoom in on that site, and I'm going to work on the assumption that I made the decision that I want to create a surprise. And so I'm going to locate my cube back in here, okay? Because I don't want anybody to see it from down the hill. So the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the assumption that I want to use the axial approach C, which is this one, or the third one. And so I'm going to locate my cube back there. Now, since I've already rotated my entire site, okay, around so that north is exactly straight up, not off at an angle, I can just draw my cube. So here goes. I'm going to use my 3D cube tool. I'm going to zoom in here, click a point, and I'm going to type in at 30 feet, comma, 30 feet. And there's my cube. All right, now the last thing that it's asking me for is to create a height on it, which is 30 feet. So from here, I'm going to switch to my perspective view so that you guys can see this as a three-dimensional object. I'm going to put this in ghosted view. It's a little bit, I think, easier to see in that. I think the other thing I'm going to do is put this on a different layer so that it's a different color than the stuff around it. I'll try that green color. All right, I've got a 30 by 30 cube. Since I rotated my site plan ahead of time, I was able to just draw the cube on axes and not have to rotate it, so I can continue to work on it in the XY axes. What we need to do now is we're just going to basically locate the entry porch. Now, I read the prompt, and I know that the entry porch, based on the prompt, says, oh, the entry porch has to be number 1 on the east-facing elevation. So which way is east? This is south. The back one back there is west. So the entry has to be on this elevation, has to face east. Another requirement, the entry has to be in a corner. It is not allowed to be in the middle of the face. It has to be in a corner. I'm reading this out of the prompt, so I have to put it in a corner. So which corner should I put it in? Let's take a quick look. How many of you guys think I should put my entry porch on this corner if this is the approach that I'm going to be using? Should I put it on this corner? Who thinks I should? Raise your hand or do some sort of indication if you think I should put it on this corner of the cube if I'm using that approach. Well, let's ask the other question. How many of you feel I should put my entry approach on this corner if I'm using this approach? Please raise your hands.
Lots of hands going up.
Oh, okay. So they all agree that this is the right corner. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and draw a box that I'm going to locate in that corner. Okay, so here it goes. I'm going to use the 3D solid tool. Click a point. All right, this is the X direction and this is the Y direction. So I'm going to type in at 5 feet, comma, and I'm going to go 20 feet. And I'm going to make it 20 feet tall. So there is my cube that I'm going to cut out of it. What dictates the depth of this? Does anybody know? Read your prompt. Go ahead, Kendall.
Yeah, I said the prompt for what indicates the 5-foot dip.
5-foot depth. Very good. Thanks, Kendall. That's great. And it has to be in a corner. I've already I saw that in the prompt. I know it's there. So here goes. I'm going to go ahead and place this thing. So here it is. I'm going to zoom in here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move it from that intersection point to that intersection point. So it's right there in the corner. Now, I read my prompt, and my prompt says that the floor is 3 feet above grade. So that means I've got to take this porch so that I'm not creating this subterranean or this below floor level porch. I have to bring it up 3 feet. So there's my porch. Is it in a corner? Yes. Does it meet the depth requirement? Yes. Is it the right height off the floor? Yes. Have I stayed within the limitations of how wide and how tall it can be? I believe I have. You guys can double check the prompt, but I believe that that meets all of the requirements. There's a height requirement, a depth requirement, a width requirement, and it has to be in a corner and it has to be up from the ground. So before I do anything else, I'm going to kind of rotate around and make sure that it's in the corner, and it looks like it is. Now, I need to do a sunset porch. The sunset porch is supposed to be on the west facing wall. If this is east and this is south, so east, south, back on the back side is north, and on the far side over here is west. So that's the side that I have to put the other porch on. All right, so let's rotate around to that side. So now on this side, I'm allowed to put the porch. I can put it in a corner, or I can put it in the middle of the room, or I can put it in the other corner. It's my choice, because this one doesn't have a requirement that it be in a corner. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a similar size porch and I'm going to put it over here. So here goes. I'm going to draw another solid. Okay, and I'm going to go at 5 feet, 15 feet, and I'm going to make it so that it is 15 feet tall. So that meets all of my requirements. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this corner. So here goes. Move from that intersection to that intersection, and then I'm going to move it up 3 feet. Okay? Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm just creating an illustration for you guys of what happens when I remove these two solids from my overall cube. What happens to the inside? The other thing I want to make clear to you is that this is not the exact process that I would take if I was building the final model. Right now, I'm just trying to show you guys, you know, what's going to happen on the inside. So here goes. Before I can subtract both of these, I need to take the bottom off. And so I'm going to look at it from underneath. I'm going to press Control Shift and I'm going to click that lower surface. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Alt key and I'm going to copy it down. So I have an extra copy, and then I'm going to delete that one. Okay, so see, I've got a hole in the bottom of the box, but I still have a copy of it down below. I can even take this one and hide it for now so it doesn't, you know, interfere with anything. Okay, so now I'm going to go back above ground. And here goes. I'm just going to use the Boolean difference. This is the box I want to take away from. This is the box I want to subtract. Press Enter, and there's that, and I'll do it again. This is the box I want to subtract from, and this is the box I want to cut with. And so there are my two porches. This is my sunset porch. Okay, it is definitely facing west. This is my entry porch on the other side. It's definitely facing east. So now here comes one of the questions. There's this, if I'm going to go down to eye level here. So I'm going do, and I'm walking right down this path. Notice how there's a straight line there. When I'm at this point walking down the path, am I looking at the entrance or am I looking at the side of the building?
The entrance?
No. If I'm standing right here as a person and I'm looking right down that way, let me draw a line here.
I got it.
Am I looking at the entrance or am I looking at the corner or the edge of the building?
The edge.
I am. So I think I need to make an adjustment, because when I'm walking down approach C, I want to be looking at the cutaway, not the corner. So I'm going to go back to my top view, and I'm going to say, all right, well, I'm going to draw a line here. So line, And I'm going to turn off my grid snap, or not my grid snap, my OSNAP and my ortho. And so this is the straight part of this walkway. It kind of goes like that. And actually, I'm going to use a different color because I want it to sort of stand out. So let's try that blue color. And I'm just putting stuff on whatever layer, so please don't do this. This is just as an illustrative means. So line. So line, L-I-N-E, enter. You could think of this as my sight line, like what my eye is looking at if I'm looking at it straight ahead. I'm gonna make it longer. Somewhere in here, kind of off that way. You can see that my line of sight is actually looking at the side of the building, not the entry. So back to 3D we go. I want to take, and I'm going to put it in full screen perspective and take a little bit more of a downward view on things. I want to move this so that it's not in the tree line, but I'm looking straight at the entrance at this big subtraction. So now am I looking more at this entry statement? Let me get a lower angle for you all. So as I'm walking down that path, am I not looking more at that entrance? By just adjusting it a little bit, I moved it back, I thought about it. Okay, that's the point of all of these adjustments that you have to make. One more time, I'm going to make sure that I clarify. I rotated the entire site so that I could draw this on the orthogonal axes. If you don't do that, then your west and east walls are not going to be facing east and west. One last thing that I'm going to do, I've cut a hole in the bottom of it. I'm going to go ahead and do offset 3D on this thing. So here it goes. Take more of a little bit of a topward view. Okay, so I'm going to say offset, surf. Okay, and select surfaces to offset. I want that one, press enter. What I want to do is, I'm going to set my distance to 9, enter. And I'm going to flip all so that it goes inward. Once I press enter, I should now have a 3D volume. You remember that I hid that floor, right? Or the bottom part. So I'm going to type in show. All right, so what I want to do with this is I'm just going to, and again, I'm doing this not in the procedure that is best for building the final model, just to illustrate it to you guys. So I'm going to take that thing and I'm going to extrude it. So solid, extrude surface straight, and I want it to go 3 feet. All right, and then I'm just going to move it up into the corner. So move that from that lower inner endpoint there to that lower endpoint there. Okay, so that puts the floor kind of where it's supposed to be. Now I've got a bunch of overlapping lines and I've got extra floor plates and stuff in there, but for what I need to do, this is sufficient, okay, to illustrate what's going on inside. So I can now delete that thing. So I'm going to put a clipping plane in. All right, and so there is my floor plan. You could do a Make 2D from this if you wanted to. I could union it and remove all of the overlapping surfaces, but there is now my floor plan. Let me see what happens if I go to top view. I got to deselect the clipping plane and then reselect it. Hit the properties thing over here. There it goes. Okay. So there's my floor plan, right, of my clipping plane. And so you can see that I now have a much narrower distance here than my 30-foot cube. I could put my door here and enter into this small area. I could put my door here centered on that line that's coming in, the sight line. Okay. I need to have a door that comes out to my sunset porch, so I could put that here, right? Or I could put it somewhere in here. But part of what is important is for you guys to recognize that the decisions that I made have impacted what the shape of my space is. And the space is what you're going to be dealing with as you progress through this project. So that's my whole presentation on doing this. So I think what we were going to do is have you guys quickly do this yourselves based on your decisions in your projects.